Kelly and welcome back to my channel and Happy New Year. I'm hoping now that we are starting to settle down into 2021 that I will be back to posting on my channel on a more regular basis, and I'm also keeping up with my blog. And today's very messy technique is actually a lot of fun. And I was chatting with a friend one day, and she was telling me that she wanted to do an embossed resist challenge, and that she did not have any Versamark. And I told her I remember seeing a long time ago a technique where you could use things right from your own house, and you can use paints and watercolors and glue, literally things you can find in your drawer or right there in your craft room. So what I'm going to share with you today is a couple of cards, and we're going to make some backgrounds together and go through this very messy technique. It's actually a lot of fun, and it's, you know, getting into the waters and the paints, and I really enjoyed the entire process from start to finish. And I did a couple of samples and videos for you already. Unfortunately, I lost that footage, but these were the end results of some of the cards that I had already done previously, but we're going to do it together, so stay tuned. Okay, so for this next part, because there is a lot of water involved in this, and remember, it is messy, the first thing you're going to need handy is your paper towels or something to clean up the mess. If you want to use a chamois, that works out too, but you will definitely need to have that close by. I'm also using some heavyweight cardstock. I believe this is accent opaque 120-pound cardstock, and it's just something that I bought months ago on Amazon, and I'm just dwindling down my supply. But the reason why you could use a heavier one is so that you can avoid using watercolor paper, but yet it still dries for you to be able to use it as a card base. These are all on the same accent opaque paper. They're 120 pound, as you can see. They're pretty sturdy. They hold up to the amounts of water that we're going to be putting on them, but yet they dry fine. You can die cut them out, and you know, if this is a concern, you can always just iron it out, but they dry pretty straight. You're going to need some watercolors, and in this case I'm using the Altenew half pans, and the reason why I'm using these is because I love the vibrancy that they have, and you know, there's enough colors that you can mix and match, but yet even if you just want one or two or three, in this particular set, they definitely have the colors already ready to go. And then you're going to need any glue. And in this case, I'm using just, you know, a school glue. I've used Eileen's in the past. That's fine. I've used clear glue. That's fine. You're not going to have it on your project long enough for the glue to be the most important part. And then you're going to need some water. And no, this isn't a Starbucks mug. I actually got this at one of those fun painting places. I went with my daughters. I believe they call it painting with wine or something. We didn't bring the wine, but we definitely had a great time painting our portraits. I am also using the junkiest brushes. I have, you know, brushes for days of, you know, all walks of life, and I use these mostly for my watercoloring and fine details. And then I have tons of bigger brushes too. I believe this is Crafter's Companion, and I'm not even sure where this is from. But it's okay. And one thing I did want to stress, that if you are using your brushes with the glue, it's okay. It washes off. Just don't let the glue sit for too long. So let's get started. This actually was a lot of fun, and I was kind of experimenting around when I was chatting with my friend, and she, you know, kept saying, how do I do some you know, heat resist embossing if I don't have the Versamark? I told her, do you remember when we were in art class and our teachers would always tell us to use the glue? It always stayed behind, and whenever you used paint or chalks, you know, it would still leave the impression. I said, let's you know, let's try that. And we did it together, and it turned out to be way more fun than I thought it would be. So we're just going to go through this one together. Remember to use any design that you like. You know, you can use it with a particular background in mind, or maybe you want to make snowflakes for a winter background. You can use little dots or checkerboard, and you know, basically whatever design that you're going for, you're just going to lay down a base coat of glue. Now, the reason why I don't go too far out of the edges is I'm most likely going to be cutting this out. If not with a die, then I'll be using it as a base. So let's get started. For this one, I'm going to use some tones of blue, and let's see, we've got Lapis and Deep Sea Blue. Actually, these colors are very similar, so I think we'll choose, okay, Cool Summer Night. And then because these are two blues, I'm gonna throw in some shades of purple. So let's start with these ones. What I like to do is I use this little area here, but for this particular one, I think I'm going to use just a palette and fill this up with some water and extra water and a lot more extra water. This is going to be really, really wet. And yeah. Okay, got the paints. And I did want to say that you also are going to need some type of squeegee, but in this particular case, you can literally use, like I said, the things that you have laying around inside your drawers, glue, and almost everyone has some type of watercolor. And one of the things that you can also use is, of course, the old cards, you know, your old library cards or grocery store cards, anything that's a plastic thing that you can remove the paint and the glue. Or one thing I actually tried once was just using a box top from a cereal, and this little corrugated cardboard or chipboard type material actually gives it a little bit more of a texture as well. So basically all we are going to do is get this going. What I like to do is I like to dab a little bit of water first, or maybe a lot of water, and then start adding my paints to here. Like I said, this is going to be unbelievably messy and really watery, so keep your area safe. So if you have a phone or anything, you know, laying nearby, be super careful with it. And one thing I did want to also point out is that if you touch the glue, it's okay. It's simply, you know, a school glue, and these brushes are washable. And just don't leave it, you know, laying around too long with the glue on it, and wash them pretty quickly. And if also you bump the pattern that you make, just roll with it, and you know, it makes the pattern even more unique. Okay, I'm noticing that this is a little bit subtle, and the colors are a little more pastel than I would like. So what I like to do sometimes is just take this, get it a little wet, and hit it again, so it brightens up your project. Because as this dries, it does dry a little softer, and the colors are, I wouldn't say pastel, but they're definitely a little more muted. It's okay if you have areas that aren't fully saturated with paint, because, let me show you, I come back in with the big brush, get a little more paint, and then I just sort of start dabbing it on. And if you are afraid of messes, or you're not really big on making messes like me, this might give you a little bit of a start, but it's okay. I promise it's really soothing, and it's a lot of fun, and you get such an interesting and creative background, and it gives you that heat embossed look without having any heat. or emboss. Okay, so what I like to do is, oh, yucky, yucky, is try to clean up a little of the water. I'm going to show you in a little bit something you can actually do with that water that's there. We'll make another one of these and have a garbage can handy. Okay, so one more time, I like to a little more water, make sure it's all on there, and then here goes. Okay, what I try to do is do this in 2 swipes, and okay, I'm gonna do this with this little squeegee, and then there you go. Paper towels handy. Get that glue, and the faster you can get the glue off, the better. And then I am a right-hander, so I'm going to flip this around. It's okay if you still have water there. Remember, this still has water. And then trying to keep the integrity of the design and not get any little fingerprints, I'm going to run through this on this side. And there you go. This has such a beautiful look to it, especially when it dries. And you do need a couple of hours unless you want to use your heat gun, and then it dries, you know, pretty instantly. And there you go. Isn't that beautiful? This was the same color scheme as this one, and on this one I did a simple squiggle pattern, and it just dries beautifully. I already actually have an idea for what I'm going to do with this one. So let's make another one, and this one I'll show you another fun way that you can use these paints. And I know they say that diamonds are a girl's best friend, but honestly, you show up in my house with some Clorox wipes, we're going to be instant best friends. Okay, so for this one we're going to use warm tones. Now the other one was the purples and blues on the cooler end of the spectrum. So this one is going to be with more of the brightness. Matter of fact, these are, let's see, we've got Cherry Blossom. Oh, such a pretty name. And we have Warm and Cozy and Summer Afternoon. You might also want to wear some gloves if that's, you know, something that you might feel more comfortable with, but it's paint, washes off. Okay, so for this one, I wanted to show you another fun thing that I did once upon a time, and what design should we make? And let's just do a random squiggle, and I think I might have an idea of what I can do with this little pattern. You can also put your patterns based on what you're going to be using them for. And in this case, I think I know. So, all right, this one is going to get really, really a lot of water, because I wanted to show you how I created this one in a different fashion. So I'm going to use a lot of water. Okay, let's start with some Warm and Cozy. I know for the most part of the country it's full of snow, and here in Miami where I live it's plenty of not snow. It is actually a delicious 50 degrees outside, and normally I would be outside in this weather, because anytime it gets cooler, this girl right here is happy, happy, happy. But I've been spending a lot of time indoors. Okay, so for this one, as you can see, this is exactly what I was hoping would happen so that I can show you. You get, with this technique, a lot of residual paint and runoff, but that's okay. Remember, if it messes up the integrity of your design, you can always maybe come back in with, you know, the paintbrush and maybe try and move it around. In my case, I absolutely love watercolors because of how organic they are, and I just let the paint do whatever the paint likes to do. And in this particular case, the design is to be messy and very random, and also to take the place of the embossing, if that's what you need. And remember, you've got to wash your brushes off quickly and not let them sit around. And the same as the other one, I'm going to put a little of this and that. I know you might have seen me just mix my paint. That's okay. The next time I use it, it'll be gone. Okay, now this is starting to run. So what I like to do sometimes is dry this off, and then I just pick up the paint from the table and I reuse it. So you get some runoff paint, but you can just put it right back on again. As you can see, there's a lot. Oh, and one thing, one time I decided to see what would happen if I flipped it over and did the splooshing. I do not recommend it. Not only did I make a mess everywhere, it also, the paint goes one direction and your glue goes another, and it doesn't end up well. So yeah, try and keep it upright as the best as you can. Okay, I think this is looking pretty good, but before we do that, definitely gonna need to sop up some of this water. Remember, as much water, you're gonna need as many paper towels, if not more, and also your garbage can. Okay, so do that. Like I said, this is a really super messy technique, but it's also a lot of fun. Okay, so for this one, let's try the cardboard, just to say that we did. And okay, I'm gonna hold this down. Try that. Okay. And I try to always do this in 2 swipes. I'm not always successful. It looks like this one might work. Okay, flip it over. See, I'm just using a box top. And there you go. Ta-da! And there's the second panel. So you've got one that we created with the purples and the blue, and then this one with the pinks and the yellow. And now we're gonna make a card. Hi guys, it's the next day, and I decided to let these dry overnight to get a full saturation of the paper and the paint and what used to be the glue. I did heat set them last night with the heat gun, but they weren't as sturdy as I would have liked them to be, like these ones were. So I let them dry overnight, let them hang out a little bit and work their magic, and they turned out to be so vibrant and really pretty, and I just love the designs. So what I'm going to do today is the card building part, and I'm going to concentrate on stamps and dies from just one company to keep it a little more organized and show you how to use them as both a background and as a focal point. So I'm going to start the die cutting, and I'll be right back. Okay, so for this one really quickly, I wanted to share with you that when we created this beautiful background, I loved all the little detail, and so I'm making some snow-capped mountains with this particular one. And I wanted to show you that I'm placing them in ways so that I actually include a lot of the detail on the mountain. Because once you put the top, the snow-capped top on, you sort of lose a little bit of the design. So I'm placing them in ways that it'll really show the beautiful scroll work and not lose the integrity of the design. What I usually do is of course, the same trick that everyone uses with putting this tape on your clothing first. I find a good spot that I like, and then just secure it down. So off to the Gemini Junior. I'll be right back. So for the next card base, the one that we made yesterday, I was going to concentrate on my favorite things, but I really wanted to use a large floral that would take up pretty much the whole card front. And I had just got in the Alta New stamp Celebrate today, and I was going to actually do a haul, a little mini haul on this, but no time like the present. So let's just open this, and what I'm hoping is in some of these florals we'll see some of this design work, and I'm going to add this to, oh, the smell of new stamps. Nothing like it. Okay, what I'm gonna do is add this to the Misty and get a good impression, because we're not gonna have a whole lot of chances to do this over. Okay, let's see. What I like to do is try to find where the pattern is so that that's where it will line up on the stamp, and use both. Okay, I think that looks good. Okay, so we have the placement, and I'd like to just kind of eyeball it and see in the really good light where it's going to line up. And the ink that I'm going to use for this is the Alta New Jet Black Crisp ink, and it is exactly that. It gives you a really crisp, beautiful, bold impression, which is going to be great against these softer, brighter colors here. And press that down a little bit. Oh yeah, that is looking gorgeous. And this particular set did come with the matching die, which is always a bonus. I have the Brothers Scan and Cut, so I don't tend to buy a lot of dies, and that should actually do it. I'm going to heat set this to make sure it's nice and dry, and then we'll run it over to the die cut. On. Okay, so this is die cut, and getting this out of the way, and it came out super pretty. And again, I tried to line it up so that it would have a watercolor wash look, but at the same time, you know, stand out. So this one is ready, and what I love also about these background pieces is you can keep this for smaller projects, or even put a die around here and have something underneath like a white outlined copy of that. So this I'm actually going to hang on to. I know I usually tend to keep a few of the little ones that I can reuse twice. I was going to show you my last card that I used. Here it is. Okay, these, for this card here, this is exactly how I came up with these little watercolor pieces. It was on a background piece like this, and I just took the little stamps and, you know, cornered it around until everyone had, you know, a little part of the paper, and was able to make a second card out of something that I normally would not keep. So this one is the keeper. Okay, so now we have these two that we made together, and they're going to become a card. So the mountains are done, and I added them to a background of some stenciled clouds using some tumbled glass distress oxides and a blender brush. And there's something about it that's a little bit off. I do have to say that I love the mountains, but there's something about this with this background that's, you know, there's something about it that's a little bit off. And I even tried to, you know, get an idea of if I wanted to put, you know, the little characters And even if it covered a little bit up, of course I would color these in later, but I was trying to get an idea of layout and just something about it that's not vibing right with me. And this is from the My Favorite Things Hang In There. And I did separate the two stamps to see if maybe that would, you know, work in a way. So I'm gonna mess with this and work on this a little bit to the side and get back to working on the one from Altenew, which is this set here. And this came out really, really pretty. So that's this one. And it's just really pretty. What I was thinking of doing is adding on one of the sentiment strips and celebrate every little thing, or celebrate everyday moments, celebrate the good times. And this is just such a really beautiful set. So I'm gonna have to stamp this and die cut this and figure out where to place this one next, because I think this is the card that we're gonna be going with. Be right back. Okay, so I think this one is going to be the one. We're going to set it down here in the corner. I have added double layer of dimension. I absolutely adore cards with dimension. And in this particular case, because this also has it, you can see this is popped up too, I added a second layer for this bottom row. And there you go. You could always put Wink of Stella, or maybe even some enamel dots, some pearls, but I like this just the way this is. I think it has a beautiful little watercolor almost look to it, and I'm super excited with how this technique is and how this one turned out. And this one, I promise, I'll keep working on it, and I'll figure out in another video how this might come back and make another presentation, as well as the background pieces that I had made previously, which can be an entire background. So, and that's my video for you today. Just grab your glue, any watercolors that you may have, and just have fun with your projects and try something new if you haven't already. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you like this video. If you do, if you could hit that button, that would really help me out. And if you want to subscribe, I have a lot of fun videos coming up in the next weeks and in this month of January. So stay tuned. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.